Hello and welcome to Unearthed. I'm your host, Philadelphia, and it is that time of year again. It is Halloween. So always a fun time. It's a favorite holiday of mine, especially movie related because big horror fan. So anyway, this year I have my guest, from around the families, wonderful friend, totally big fan of the channel apparently, and the show. So I appreciate the plug. Please welcome Melissa Woody. Melissa, how you doing?
I am doing all right. Long time fan, first time guest. I'm excited to be here.
All right. So I wanted you because I usually do for the Halloween. I keep it to horror, and I know so last year we ended up with Girl on the Third Floor, same director we have today, and it skewed a little more. I felt it necessary to have like a female horror fan to get that perspective, and this year is no exception. So the movie I picked out, and this is both of us sight unseen, so we're going in blind. I picked Jacob's Wife, which released actually earlier this year. It's available on Shudder right now. A little bit of the housekeeping before we move on. So it's directed by Travis Stevens, and it stars Barbara Crampton.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's her and Larry Fessenden, who I've seen in a bunch of stuff, and he's one of those guys who's just like I don't know his name, but I'm like, oh yeah, I remember him from this or that or whatever. So it's basically it's small town. He's a minister, or she's his wife, and she's bit by a vampire and hijinks ensue. I guess is the straightforward way I could kind of put that. So it got released at South by Southwest, had minimal theatrical run. So this is, as I said, Travis Stevens. This is his second movie. First one he did was Girl on the Third Floor. So I am really curious. I was a big fan of Girl on the Third Floor myself. It's funny because if you go to that Rotten Tomatoes, it has a critic score of 88% or something, and an audience score of 22. So I'm like, all right, so it probably means I'm going to end up liking this. So I saw the trailer for this. I'm like, okay, I'm hooked. I got to see this. So anyway, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So we'll cut to the trailer. We'll go watch the movie. We'll come back, and I'm sure we'll have thoughts. So see you in a minute.
How do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife?
We make plans for things. Life happens. I want to live a bigger life.
Anne, I am surprised that you wound up marrying Jacob. Whatever happened to the adventurous Anne?
This is so tempting. I just can't do it to Jacob. Oh! Are you?
That's odd. You've got new teeth coming in.
What?
Anne.
Oh, good, you're home. Get changed. I'd like to go out.
40 years I've known this woman. Every day the same. Now, I don't know who I'm coming home to.
How much of that could I get?
You want the blood?
I feel more alive than I have in years.
Hey, Mrs. Fetter, you all right? Mrs. Fetter?
It wasn't me.
Of course it was you! Why didn't you tell me when this first happened?
I felt ashamed.
As you should. Husbands, love your wife. He who loves his wife loves himself. So effed up!
That looks heavy.
I want to make my own decisions from now on.
You ever see something you couldn't explain, Sheriff?
You don't know how to fight for me because you've never done it.
Give me the strength to save her soul!
We need to finish this.
How you gonna write this one up, Deputy?
Domestic dispute. Non-violent.
All right, and we're back. So that was Jacob's wife, Melissa. I guess initial thoughts before we get into it.
I really liked the movie. I thought it was a great like women empowerment horror movie. I struggled a little bit with the tone. I feel like there's times where it would lean into some comedic areas, and then it would be more serious. So I kind of wish it would lean like
More
in
one way or the other.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I would have liked the movie more, but
Yeah.
overall, it was a fun time.
Yeah. So let's go over. I got a bunch of notes here, so we'll go through it.
Me too.
So I do. By the way, first off, two things: cinematography, excellent. This movie is beautifully shot.
Yes.
It doesn't oversaturate anything, but at all times I could see what is happening, and the fucking music for this.
Yes, I would agree.
Bravo, which was Tara Bush, I think, did the score, but goddamn. And we'll get into one scene where I was just like, oh my God, yes, let's go. But anyway, so the movie opens up at this local church. It's small town USA. It's never really told, but I do love that when we open up on the church area, it's the Proverbs that is like clear as day for a good 2-3 seconds. I think kind of immediately sets the tone pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I wrote it down too. It says, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised.
I wrote it down as well.
Yeah, if that is not the perfect setup for what is about to happen for the rest of this film. So I was like, okay, that's where we're leaning with it. And it opens up with him doing the sermon about wives and husbands loving each other. And this is where we briefly meet Anne, who is Jacob's wife. Yes, titular Jacob's wife. Also,
before you move on,
sure.
The very first note that I wrote was "fuck rats, fuck this movie."
This movie loves rats. Because it opens up on the rat eating.
Yes, and this the sound and.
Oh yeah, they really make rats really gross here. So
yes.
Oh man, and a lot of practical effects too, which I was very happy with. There's only one real scene where I was like, it's a little CG, but other than that, kudos for that. So it is the whole he's saying goodbye to the congregation, and it's a nice little nod. Like he is constantly cutting over her or talking over her in every scene.
Yeah,
but at the same time, he's not really a bad guy, which I thought was a really nice stroke. Like he really teeters. He's a dick to her, but not because he's trying to be. It's just like shitty upbringing or whatever. And throughout the film, he kind of recognizes it because she's like, hey, let me fucking say a word, And I thought that was really nice that he's just not overtly just a dick preacher. So.
Yeah, so it's kind of like up to the audience if you like him, don't like him.
Yeah,
because he's a little bit more neutral, really.
He kind of is, yeah.
But I didn't like him.
Oh, fair enough. I didn't mind him, but I at least thought he tried. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt. But
yeah.
So we follow Amelia, who is one of the congregants who is worried about her mother. And I feel like she walks 2 days because it's just the afternoon and it is pitch dark when she gets home. And I'm like, God damn, does this town not have an Uber? But so she gets attacked. And then we look at Anne's day and it's just, I kind of love it's her working out. It's her cooking breakfast for him. And it's her making the house nice. Well, he's God knows doing what. And it does a real good job of setting up just what a kind of a quiet and almost sad existence she has been living. And she's been doing this for years.
Yeah, I mean, even the aerobics videos, you could tell it's dated. It's not like a up-to-date version of a workout. But
all right. So little piece of trivia. I watch all movies with subtitles just because from studying. And in the subtitles it says 80s aerobics music, which is exactly what this is.
That's awesome.
Oh, and I'm like, yep, you're still doing exercise for the 1980s because that is what is available, I guess. So, and even while they're just talking of normally, he keeps cutting her off and he keeps talking over her. And what is the word I'm trying to? He almost treats her like a subject and not like a partner. All throughout the relationship until certain things happen. Yes. And you could see even before Tom gets mentioned, that is starting to kind of bubble to the surface. but she has just gotten so used to not saying anything she doesn't. Also, kudos to Barbara Crampton in this film.
Yeah, she was the standout for sure.
Not only that, she gets everything to do here. And it's nice to see her flex because I really feel like we should be doing better by her as an actress because she is just nailing every scene perfect. Like, even when the tone just kind of shifts randomly, she is appropriate to the scene and what is happening and her reaction to it. Yeah. And that is so good. Like, she is great in this. I really think she is.
Yeah, no, she was fantastic. I couldn't keep my eyes off the screen because of her.
Yeah, and I'll go into that. So what is happening is an old flame's coming into town, and I do love the lipstick scene of her trying to like almost like reignite her own sexuality, but her immediately not doing it. And then her meeting this old flame, and he's clearly still into her, and we get into that, and she clearly reciprocates too, but and I think I even wrote this down. She's like, it wouldn't be fair to Jacob.
Not even thinking about herself.
Never. And it's always she is putting his needs before her own. Constantly.
Yes.
Well, anyway, then we get the rat crate scene.
Oh my God.
Was just so nasty.
Ooh, I can handle a lot of stuff in horror.
Yeah.
I struggle with rats.
Yeah.
But it was
great. Yeah, no, and Tom gets eaten by what looks like 8,000 rats.
Yeah, it's like my worst nightmare.
Oh, yeah. Especially when he's like reaching out and you can see his fingers have been bitten off.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus Christ. So Anne gets just attacked out of nowhere, but you don't see what happens. And then it's her going home and her just going right to bed. And the husband's like, well, what the hell's going on? Are you okay? And all this. And her reaction, just her covered in like all the blood. And just that whole scene, like, I bought into it.
Yeah, no, I loved the scene at like her in the bathroom by herself, and she's just like, but screaming to herself.
She can't let it out.
Yeah, it's like a silent scream.
Yeah. So, and I love this bit, is the next morning, like, Jacob wakes up, there's no breakfast ready, there's nothing done, and he walks in, and she's already working out. And he's like, are you going to cook breakfast? She's like, I'm not hungry.
Yeah. And I love that she's wearing makeup while she's working out.
Already put the makeup on. But I love that he's just like, he doesn't think, well, I'll just make breakfast this one day. He's like, I guess I'll just get something when I go into town. And like, I don't give a fuck. Do what you want. And oh God. So we have all that. And what do I even have here? Oh God, the diner scene when they go out to dinner.
Yes.
Yeah, this is so great. So I do love that. Like, all of a sudden, she is now vamping it up. She looks like she drops like 30 years in the middle of this movie. So kudos to that, because she's like aging amazingly well. But they did a grill. All of a sudden, it's low cut tops, and it is just like her hair is now done. She's got all this makeup on. She's like, I want to go out. We're going out. And he's like completely caught off guard. I do love that the waiter's checking her out too.
Yes.
So I know there's a, and correct me, I don't know. It's fine. But I feel like once women in Hollywood hit over 30, they're just like, well, you're an older woman now and you can't be sexy anymore.
Exactly.
And that's it. And then they're just like, nope, she's still sexy. Look at her. And even the waiter's like, what's up? And you can clearly tell it's weirding Jacob out, which I kind of love.
Yeah, but she wasn't trying to stop it either. I think she liked it. She's like, "Oh, this guy's checking me out."
She totally did,
and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, no, good for her. So that whole scene happens, and then we get the go into the market scene, which is again just wonderfully, just like I love the way this is shot. It's her looking at all the meat and sucking on the blood, and she just buys bags of blood. And then we get the house cleaning scene.
Oh, that was probably my favorite scene.
Oh my God. First off, fucking Concrete Blonde. I haven't heard Concrete Blonde in years. And as soon as that song, I was like, oh, yeah, no, good choice, music department. Even though it's like way on the nose, it's still great. And it's her deciding, like, I don't like the way this room's set up, picks up a couch and just throws it while she's just drinking all this blood.
Yeah, no, I love that, like, she's finding this like empowerment in herself, and like the things that she's doing is literally just dressing better and like moving things in the house. It's like,
Yeah.
you
Or
could
even
do,
just speaking up.
yeah, you could do a little bit more, like she's just so simple with what she wants, and
Yeah.
she's not even getting like those type of needs.
Yeah. So
met.
and it's just been like that. So
Yeah.
So this is where the tone kind of gets a little goofy, but I think it's fine because it kind of warrants it. It's just this whole like, I am becoming something else.
Mm-hmm. Dancing with the lamp.
Yeah, and then then the scene where she's after she throws up all the meat blood, but she's in the bed with the neck holes. And it's just like,
oh, I loved that.
I did too, but I was like, did she just like stick her fingers in and like shove it down?
Like, yeah, for a second I was like, wait, is she like low key like fingering her neck? Like, is she getting pleasure from it?
There's a sentence I never thought I'd hear. Can you? I don't want to. We're gonna.
I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
Wow. just that is Well, anyway, Jacob goes to see his brother, I guess.
Yeah.
And he clearly is like, something's up, something's different. And then I love that him and his brother are like, well, this needs to be fixed or taken care of. It can't be allowed to continue. Like, like you need to go confront Tom. That's what you need to do. But I do love that in that instance, Jacob is just like, I don't think I don't want to do that to Anne. Like, he's actually thinking of her in this instance. Even though he's probably trying to save himself from embarrassment. But I thought it was like a nice little character moment where it's just like, I think my wife's cheating on me, but I don't want to disrespect her at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's rare you see that kind of moment for a character in a movie like this, where it's like he's clearly trying to think of her first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he is where we get the masturbation scene in the window.
Yeah.
Which I was not ready for that. So we get, this is where we find our first clips of the master, the vampire that turned her, and he's clearly using, mind control, but she's getting down there pretty graphically. But I love that, like, immediately Jay was like, well, what the fuck is this? You can't do that. Like, he's like, anytime she tries to do anything for herself, it's shut down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even that.
Even, of course, that. Well, I mean, it's probably a sin, I think. I think technically you're not allowed to go to the bathroom according to the Bible. And then
you're not wrong.
No. And then I love that the next sermon we see is this whole thing of having to save your spouse or having to save your wife. Like, and that's clearly where his mindset is. Like, well, she clearly needs to be saved. And that's my job. And that's what I'm going to have to do. And then we get that whole dentist scene, which was a little messed up.
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, I did too. But I was like, first off, what is this machine?
I think it was like whitening her teeth.
Is it like an ultraviolet thing that whitens teeth? I've never actually seen something like that.
That's what I was assuming.
I assumed that too. I've just never seen one. But anyway, it burns her face because it's UV lights. Although I like that she could kind of walk around outside.
Yeah.
So it's not the whole like I will die immediately, but I guess if it's like if you get like too much of it, it's clearly gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
So I do kind of appreciate that. So this is where Jacob goes to the mill to confront Tom, and he finds these rowdy teenagers who's been fucking with them for at least once or twice during the movie.
Yeah.
And then Amelia, who has disappeared, who like the girl from the first scene, and she wrecks Oscar. The dude rips his head off.
Yeah.
Graphically.
Yes. I was like, geysers of blood.
Yeah, there we go. That's what we need. So like, it is just a blood fountain. And she is digging it. I do love that it's like Nosferatu kind of rat teeth, not like fangs. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I like how hers are starting to, Anne's are starting to come in too.
Yeah, I feel like the Master and Amelia definitely have like that Nosferatu vibe,
Definitely.
like the fingers of the Master and the teeth.
And even Anne starts to take on those traits a little later, because that's where the neighbor comes in. And she jacks him up. I mean, like, rips his head off.
Yeah, I laughed.
Oh my god. And then, like,
I thought it was hilarious.
Jacob comes home and she is like slurping it up off the linoleum. But I love it. Like, I also really like that her eyes turn red And like, she gets real pale. I like the creature design. Like, it's not
me
like
too.
I completely turn into another thing, but I clearly alter. Like, it's a good look.
Yeah.
And Jacob immediately, well, we got to clean this up. And I do love that, like, everybody in this film knows what a fucking vampire is, and they don't like question it. Like, this is what you do as a vampire, okay? like everyone has seen a horror film before, which is kind of rare for these kinds of movies. They treat it like this is something new. What is? They're like, he's got a stake, and he's immediately hammering this dead body.
They just know what to do.
Yeah, they just like, okay, it's a vampire. This is how you take care of vampires.
Yeah, and I think her like at first thing that she said when he walked in the room was, "This, I didn't do this, or it's not me."
It's not me. It's I'm controlled. Like, well, who is it? Oh God! Also, Amelia's death right after this, because they try to go down the mill. That was just horrific looking.
Yeah,
but I love that it's. Go ahead, so.
I just really liked the way that Amelia like looked. I liked her.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like the costume and makeup.
Yeah, and the actress is really just leaning into it, and I was like 100%. Like, I love it. So
yeah, I was here for it.
And then, because she's like trying to like convince the preacher, like, oh, like, don't you want to help me and all this, and it's clearly feeding into him like this whole like, well, oh, clearly you need to be saved, and like Anne's just like, no, stake through the throat. I do have to see before that. I'm sorry, I want to get back to it though, and then we'll keep going. Where they're in the car and they're driving to the mill, and the husband's like, "All right, we get there. You stay in the car." She's like, "I didn't come all this way to stay in a goddamn car."
Yeah.
He's like, "You don't even have a stake. You just stay in the car. Just let me handle this." It's like, and she's like, "I thought we would do this together." It's like, we are together, but you got to wait here. And she's like, "Pull over," and she just rips a piece of wood off the fence. Like, now I got a stake. Let's fucking go.
Yes, I loved that scene.
Oh my God. This is just a real good movie.
Yeah.
And so they get down there, they kill Amelia. Whole thing with the rats. Oh my God. Well, then they get outside, and then they get into the fight where Jacob blames Anne for all this happening to her, which was just such a really good scene. And it's just this whole thing of like, you went there to cheat on me. Like, you brought this on yourself. Not like, I didn't plan on getting bit by a vampire though. You know? Yeah. And it's the whole, like, just the victim blaming of this is you and you did this. And she's like, no, I didn't. Like, this happened to me. I didn't bring this on myself. Like, you're supposed to be my husband. You know? I don't know. I don't know if that read that way to you. That's how I read that scene. I just thought it was like a really good scene. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in the film.
No, I would agree, because like again, it goes back to that like he just doesn't account for her feelings really, and like just I don't know. Yeah, he's a shitty husband.
Yeah, but
and this whole situation is like awakening that I think in both of them that like, hey, I want to speak up more and.
Yeah,
maybe I should pay attention more to my wife's feelings.
And that's immediately what happens when he gets home. Like she gets home, they get home, and then he's just like, I need to stop talking over you. Like, I need to respect you more. Like, I need to hear you. And she's like, I need to speak up more. You know, and like this whole way, they're gonna try to work it out, even though everything's getting real fun.
Yeah.
So, but then we get my favorite bit of the film, because we actually come face to face with the master.
Yes.
And the master turns out to be a woman.
That was like one of the best twists. Yeah.
Stroke of genius. Yes. and it's total Nosferatu looking too.
Yes.
And hold on. I had this up here. Give me a sec. So Bonnie Aarons was actually the master.
She was the bum in Mulholland Drive.
Also Princess Diaries.
Also the nun in The Conjuring.
Yep. So yeah.
Universe.
So yeah. So and we'll get into the big confrontation later.
Yes.
But I just thought that was like real great, you know. And she's like, well, what do you want with me? He's like, why does it always have to be somebody who wants something from you? Maybe I don't, you know. So oh my God. And this is where in the third act, kind of the hijinks kind of get a little more rampant. Which I'm fine with, but it's definitely like, okay, we're teetering here. But it's totally okay.
Yeah.
Like, they go to visit someone randomly, like somebody's mother who's dead. James like, pack her up, let's take her with us. Just pump out the blood. I'm gonna go find the master and take care of this. Where like, and again, Anne is like, let's go together. Let's do this together.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, no, I'll take care of this and all that.
And I loved the little girl that was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing there?"
Because that was like a bite.
She's like, "I won't tell if you tell me a swear."
I know that one. Oh my god! So the neighbors notice they're putting a dead body in, which I kind of love. They're like, that's a dead body. So
it's like broad daylight.
Yeah. So the police are called, and then the sheriff and CM Punk, which is so good as the deputy, just pull him over. Like, what's going on? And he's got like a whole kit of killing vampire shit. So they're like, well, you're clearly a murderer. Let's go. Oh, wait, before that, we got the weed scene, which is actually so great.
Yes.
That is definitely scene 2. I love that whole scene. It is so good.
When it like cures her hunger. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally wrote in my notes, "Weed fixes all?" ? Haha. Okay.
But it's also like where they have like the most like down to earth conversation between the two of them.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's nice that in the middle of all this madness, they constantly stop to have nice character moments with the two of these people. And they're both pulling their weight and they're doing great jobs. Like both of them.
Yeah.
Like as characters. Like I believe that Jacob doesn't want to hurt his wife in any way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I believe that he truly does care for her. And there's a part of her that does care about him. You know, and I kind of believe that this is a marriage, like, even though it's clearly not a healthy marriage.
Yeah, I think it's just ultimately two people who haven't grown together, and they haven't grown within themselves. They've been doing the same thing for the past 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a nice moment of levity. The weed scene.
No, it was great. So I'm fine with that. So anyway, so then after that, it's just like, all right, let's go take care of everything else. And I guess their friends come over for dinner while she's draining a body of blood.
Mm-hmm.
So they call the cops. Cops have Jacob. So it's everyone's finally all coming together. And then we get the master show up. And the whole conversation with her and Anne is just so really cool.
Yes.
Because it comes down to, Anne's like, what do you want from me? And the master's like, I don't want anything from you. That's the thing. What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? When was the last time you did anything you wanted?
Yeah, and up to this point, I was hating the title of this movie. I was like, why is it called Jacob's Wife? Like, I'm just annoyed. Like, you know, this is the Anne show. Like, why does it have to even in the title? But that whole confrontation in that scene, I was like, okay.
It ties it together. It really does.
Yes, that
is. And then we reveal that the master's like, no, I pick the people I want to turn. Like, this is a gift I give to people. Like, I was like you. I was domesticated. I was dutiful, but I didn't do anything. Someone freed me, and now I get to do whatever I want. And I want to give that to you. What do you want? And Anne finally answers, I just want a bigger life. And then the whole conversation of like, has your life been better in the last few days? Because everybody has treated her like, oh, you're a vampire. We got to figure out how to stop this. We got to figure out how to cure this. We got to figure out how to turn you back. And then, and Anne even at one point is like, maybe I like how I am now. Maybe I like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe I don't want to give it up. And it's rare. So I feel like in any other kind of horror movie, if it were if anybody else were doing this, everything would be from Jacob's perspective and his reaction to his wife and how it's affecting him. And it's almost squarely everything's through her eyes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really wonderful way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite refreshing to kind of have this. Like it's like the horror through the female gaze, and it's her story, even though her name's not even literally on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, I completely agree. And I think it's interesting that the master, you know, is basically fueled by empowering women like that. Yeah. So that was like a really cool, I guess, twist with like a vampire movie. Typically it's, you know, just because they're hungry or, you know, something more simple, I guess.
And I do love that the master officer, like, drink my blood, and you can control the hunger, but you keep everything, and you can do whatever you want. And then Jacob kills the master.
And I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. But I love that even after he did this, she was like, that wasn't your decision to make.
Exactly.
That was mine. And you took it from me. But she let him know that. I do love the joke that really landed for me was the cops, because they get the sheriff and CM Punk, and they're just there, and everything just happened in front of them. And the sheriff's like, I feel like this is probably you or your domain there, Reverend, than mine. And he's like, hey, deputy, how do you think you want to write this up? CM Punk's like, domestic disturbance. He's
non-violent.
Like, let's get the fuck out of here. I don't want any part of any of this. Which I feel like that is exactly how, like, probably a small town cop would react to some shit like this. So, but then we get, like, the whole end. She's clearly still a vampire. And he's clearly still skittish because he's like, he's got the stake. He's just like, what are we going to do? And she's like, let's sell the house and just go out and live. And it's, can I trust you? And she's like, of course you can. And then, of course, the teeth come out, and that's credits roll. And I'd say bravo. This is a really good movie. I don't know. That's me. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I loved the freeze frame at the end. It was great. No, I think overall, I thought this was a refreshing take on a vampire movie. And I love that it was, you know, has to do with women empowerment and the female gaze in horror, because I'm obviously a big fan of that. But like I was saying at the beginning, just some of the tonal stuff, like I liked the humorous parts, and I just wish it leaned in more to being more campy and humorous, or to be more kind of serious. So
I get that, but I feel like it didn't go too far either way to where it. And I also appreciate that, one, it still had gore, but it didn't overdo it. It didn't need to rely on that to tell the story.
Yes.
And when it showed up, it was welcome. But at the same time, and it's rare in a horror movie, you get like a lot of character beats, which this movie really did have.
Yeah.
And I really do appreciate that Barbara Crampton really got to flex a lot. Because, I mean, kudos to her, man. Like, she should be in more everything. Because she just fucking nailed it. So yeah.
And I love that the film was the two leads were, you know, people over, I don't know how old they are, but 40, 50. I don't know how old they are. So that was kind of nice too. Typically, a lot of times in horror movies too, you know, they're young, beautiful people.
Yeah. And this is just like, they're older people, and you know, but at the same time, like Barbara Crampton, I don't know how old she is.
I don't
care. I don't even care.
Me either.
But the fact that she could even just still be allowed to just actually be sexy, and like being a woman of like at an older age, I thought was like that was really refreshing as well. Oh, Kitty.
Yeah, sorry. Parents by Buttercup.
No, that's fine. So I guess wrapping up, would you recommend?
Yeah, I absolutely would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this is usually where I do my star rating. Honestly, this is a lot of fun. It doesn't drag. It moves. It's pretty brisk. It's a little over 90 minutes, which, hey, you know what? Kudos, more of that. All right. I get every movie wants to be like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 5 hours, but like sometimes you can get it done in 90 minutes, as clearly shown here, because this movie did.
Yes.
So I was a big fan of Travis Stevens' last film. I'm a big fan of this film. I think I'm pretty much just going to go see whatever he does out from here on out, because this guy really clearly understands like what works in horror and how to use it and the stories to tell. And he's got a wonderful eye. So 11 out of 5 stars for me, for Jacob's Wife. I'd say it's on Shudder, worth a watch. Honestly, yeah, I had a blast with this one. So
it's fun time.
Oh, always good. So Melissa, thank you so much for coming on. This is usually where I give the plug. You know, you could just like whatever. What do you got going, or what do you want to plug? Or go ahead.
You can follow me on Letterboxd or Instagram or Facebook at Melissa Woody. I think on Letterboxd and Instagram it's Woody with zeros and not O's, because it wasn't available.
Okay. So did you put this? Did you log this in?
What's that?
Did you log this in?
Not yet.
Is that how the kids say it?
Not yet.
Okay. What do you think you're out of 5? What do you think you're giving this one?
I think I would give it 3.5 stars.
All right. Yeah.
Teetering
Scott?
on 4.
Yeah, I think this actually. Hold on, because I'm weird about this kind of stuff. Rotten Tomato critic score 86%. So, and earned. Honestly, it really is. I've seen worse horror movies.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, no, this is just a great time. Great cast, great all around. So, anyway, I've been your host, Philadelphia. You can catch me here as often as possible. Also, Fantasy Film Fights with Becky Gummins here at Feature Presentation Productions. Every Wednesday, we return to cast and they do some movie drafting. It's always fun. Random maelstroms, random nights. Super good time. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Philadelphia, PA. Although I'm barely on Twitter because it's a cesspool, but it's fine. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, is a reminder that in life there are no right answers, but there are wrong ones. So take care.